All right, in a bit of a shocker for some and total jubilation for others, the New York Knicks have officially relieved Tom Thibodeau from his head coaching duties after making the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 seasons. Tibbs, a coach that took this franchise from the laughingstock of the NBA. This was one of the worst teams, the biggest letdowns in the biggest market in the country, a total disaster, and he brought them back to prominence, making the playoffs in 4 of 5 seasons with the team, won 4 playoff series. That's more than the last 13 head coaches combined. In fact, the Knicks have only won 1 postseason series since June of 2000 prior to Tom Thibodeau, obviously making the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 seasons this year, back-to-back 50-win seasons, but there was a lot of noise behind the scenes that things weren't 100% correct with Tibbs. Now, Tibbs has a notorious reputation for being this kind of head coach, being good, turning a culture around, setting the culture of these bad organizations that can't get themselves out of the dumpsters, but really can't get his teams over the hump. They can't get to that championship level, and the Knicks are singularly focused on a championship. They said this is all they care about, and they believe their team is good enough to get it done. And they felt like the team they had this year going into the season was good enough, and they were a letdown for the regular season, and ultimately let down that they did not win the Eastern Conference, especially with the way the bracket shook out, and they had home court advantage for that series. But look, so much great achievement for the Knicks. Again, last season was tough. They win the first round. They lose in 7 to this same Pacers team, but the entire team falls apart, gets hurt. They make some major moves in the offseason. They trade away Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo to bring in Karl Anthony Towns, as well as trading away 1 million draft picks for Mikal Bridges. And really didn't work out totally great throughout the regular season, kind of struggled to get things figured out. But in the playoffs, the Knicks turned it on. They took down the defending champ Boston Celtics. I know Tatum goes out, but they were up 3-1 in that series before he goes down. But a guy like Tibbs can wear on you. He makes teams play 1 million minutes. He almost refuses to play his bench. It's kind of ridiculous. And he doesn't do a great job of adjusting in the postseason. Now, he did have some games of brilliance with this Knicks team, able to change things up. I thought he was great in game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And honestly, that game 1 maybe sucked the soul, killed the momentum, all the mojo this team had. I don't even know how you explain how the Knicks lost that game 1 against the Pacers. It maybe truly was an act of God or a complete and utter unfathomable choke. But there's been some rough personalities here with Tibbs, people blaming him. Now there's other things like Karl Anthony Towns, can't win with Karl Anthony Towns. There was like a 4,000 word athletic piece ready to drop as soon as the Knicks were eliminated, talking about how people weren't happy with Cat, how he doesn't play defense. And the Knicks really struggled to play defense for a large portion of this playoffs. And in fact, you kind of are who you are. The Knicks were always down 15 to 20 points in every one of these playoff games, but then would rally back and steal games and get these wins. At a certain point, you are who they say they are, and maybe the Knicks just weren't that good. And beyond that, a guy who refuses to play his bench then starts tinkering in the postseason with his lineups and his rotations to get bench guys more minutes because they couldn't figure out a way to stop Indiana. And it worked. It felt like you got really productive minutes for a guy like Landry Shamet, who played none in the regular season at all, it felt like. And that's the big problem here with Tibbs. Why is Tibbs playing his starters so much in the regular season? It's an 82-game grind, and then not experimenting, trying out different rotations, which you are going to have to use and see in the playoffs. You cannot win the NBA title with a 6 or 7-man rotation. You really kind of need 8 or 9 that you trust to play, but maybe a core 7 hardcore in crunch time. But you're just going to run ragged. You're going to run out of gas to win 4 playoff series. It takes a lot out of you. And that's really the biggest thing here is why are you doing this experimenting in the postseason, trying to get things to work, not doing it in the regular season? Get some more cohesion, get some more lineups you can trust and go to. And you know what? Maybe save some of your guys. Now, it was okay this season. The team did not break down. They did not have injury issues like they did last season. But that was the big concern last year of why things kind of fell apart with Tibbs and the Knicks is he logs too many minutes with the starters. I mean, the starting five for the Knicks scored averaged 97 points this season in a game. That's the most like any team has averaged since like the 90s. It's kind of ridiculous how much his starters were playing, how many minutes they were logging, and how much to the offense they were contributing just in the regular season alone. Obviously, the playoffs are going to be different. You're going to see kind of mostly your starters. The bench always shortens up. But the fact that they had guys that came in late in this series and I felt were very productive, gave you really good minutes against the Pacers and helped change things up and kind of spurred maybe the potential comeback. Look, you got the wins in game 5. You look good. You won game 3, you know, but it just kind of ran out of gas in game 6. I don't know how to feel, but Knicks fans are excited. They feel like Tibbs was the problem, doesn't do the most adjustments as a head coach, and I totally get that. The question is, what do you do from here? The Knicks said they weren't going to make massive adjustments. They weren't going to overreact. This means I think the roster kind of stays in place, and their window is now. I think the Knicks are going to be a little bit better next year. I don't know why the Knicks would get any worse. They have these guys going. They got to figure out how to use Bridges, Cat, and Brunson together, what their best rotation is. I mean, Mitchell Robinson was a stud in there, grabbing rebounds like a crazy man out there. But look at this history of coaching with the New York Knicks. Like I said, first time they won back-to-back games in a back-to-back 50-game win seasons since the 2000s or since the 90s. I mean, look at these coaches, like the last 13 coaches. You're not getting a whole lot out there. Mike Woodson's probably your best at 580. Tibbs a 565 though in 5 years. Like I said, has all those playoff seasons and those playoff wins. This team has gotten out of the dumps thanks to Tibbs. The question is, where do the Knicks go from here? This is the big question. And we kind of all know where the first, second, and maybe third call are going to go for the Knicks. I think you have to go all in on Jay Wright, the former Villanova head coach. I know college and the NBA are different, but Jay Wright is an elite level basketball coach, and these are the Nova Knicks. He coached a large chunk of these guys in college. They know the system Jay Wright likes to run, and they had massive success with said system. I think he's well respected in the basketball world. He's been retired for the last few seasons after the NIL situation in college kind of got out of control, took his fun away. But why not? This is a short window with this team. I'm talking 2 to 3 years. Why not roll the dice, go in with Jay Wright? If it doesn't work out, your window's over anyway. So why not go in for a guy that you think could potentially get you that championship? It's worth the risk. I think you have to be a little risky here. You can't go with a safe hire and get yourselves in a similar situation where we're competing in the Eastern Conference semis, getting to the Eastern Conference finals, but not really getting to the NBA finals or getting a championship, because that does you no good for the long-term success of this team. They really don't have any future set up for the long-term success of this team. They have to finally bring a championship back to the city of New York. So I think Jay Wright is your first hire, first approach. You're making all the moves to try and get him. Now, what about Mike Malone, the Denver Nuggets head coach who was fired just before the start of the playoffs? And the Nuggets look to seem a lot better without him as their head coach, has a championship under his belt. But some people say that might just be a rehashing of a guy like Tibbs. It's kind of a similar thing, kind of a hard-nosed grinder coach, gonna try and make you play defense, play a lot of minutes, doesn't really trust his bench in most situations, especially in the playoffs. So that could just be a retreading, a rehashing, but people have a lot of respect for Mike Malone. They think he was a very good head coach. I mean, Sacramento, he was good. They should have never let him leave there. So it's very interesting to see what the Knicks are going to do in this offseason, because the East is wide open. The East is pathetic right now when it comes from a team standpoint. The Celtics are cooked with no Tatum for next year. The Pacers are clearly your top dog. What are the Cavs going to do? Do we ever trust the Cavaliers to be a kind of playoff finals team? Because they've just constantly let down. Are the Magic ready to make a big step? Somebody going to go trade for Kevin Durant and make a move? Is Giannis going to get out of the East? Milwaukee's trash. Philadelphia's a dumpster. We don't know if Embiid's ever playing. So you got to strike while the iron is hot. Now, what's the big, ultimately, if you win the East, are you going to be able to compete against the Western Conference in the finals? We don't know. That's yet to be seen. We're going to have to see how Indiana shakes out against the Thunder here on Thursday. But a lot of intrigue, a lot of interest going on in New York. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you agree with the firing? Should the Knicks have kept Tibbs and maybe changed up the roster, gotten rid of Cat? I know I can't stand watching Karl Anthony Towns play basketball either. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you haven't already, drop a quick like on this video. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. We got daily sports content for you guys. If you want to support the channel more, sign up for a channel membership. You get all sorts of access to cool and exclusive perks. Help support me, allows me to keep making this great content for you guys every single day. Summer is here. The NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals. We got baseball season. If you want to go check out a game live and in person, head on over to SeatGeek.com. Use code afterthereview for $20 off your first purchase. That's SeatGeek.com. Code afterthereview for $20 off your first purchase. Again, like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.